Hello, my name is Justin Paul Zahler, science teacher at MICDS High School in St. Louis, Missouri. This is April 22nd, 2020, and this is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. John Muir, otherwise known as John of the Mountains, founder of the Sierra Club and father of the national parks, was an ecological thinker who had the ear of confidant President Teddy Roosevelt. He was an influential, though unassuming political spokesman. His convincing prerogative about the intrinsic value of nature shaped the way Americans understand and envision their relationship with nature. In the early 1900s, he wrote, "When we contemplate the whole globe as one great dewdrop, striped and dotted with continents and islands, flying through space, with all other stars all singing and singing together as one, the whole universe appears to be an infinite storm of beauty." A little over 60 years later, an environmental movement was brewing with influential scientists such as Rachel Carson, who wrote, "Those who dwell among the beauties and mysteries of earth are never alone or weary of life. Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. The more clearly we can focus our attention on the wonders and the realities of the universe, the less taste we shall have for destruction." She also said, "But a man is a part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself." In the 1960s, technology began to enable the world's scientists a unique glimpse into the previously undetected nuances of Earth's heartbeat. New chemistry, advanced observational techniques, and highly sensitive instruments yielded new understanding about the impact of small changes in the environment. Increasingly, scientists bore the social responsibility to try to warn the public about potentially catastrophic changes. New sets of ethical questions arose about what constitutes danger, what danger is possible, and to what degree of proof was sufficient to justify issuing a public warning. Among the many voices was Lamont, one of America's most distinguished ecologists, who said he'd been inspired by Rachel Carson's activism. He agreed with a committee of ecologists who argued, "Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring created a tide of opinion which will never again allow professional ecologists to remain comfortably aloof from public responsibility." Testifying before Congress in 1966, he described the alarming side effects of industrialization that is maintaining and expanding our economy even as the population grows. Cole worried that we were close to a critical point where the rate of combustion of fossil fuels would exceed the rate of photosynthesis. A dam was about to break. 50 years ago, 20 million Americans rallied in the very first Earth Day. Outraged by polluted air and water, by oil spills, and the destruction of nature, these people's actions changed policies and politics, sparking the emergence of the environmental movement. Within months, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency was created, and the Clean Air Act was passed into law with bipartisan support. Half a century later, we are not celebrating this anniversary as expected. Many had anticipated the year 2020 to be a pivotal year to make progress against the amplification of many environmental threats. The 50th anniversary could have made this Earth Day the opportunity for citizens to celebrate nature and demand change. Instead, most of us are confined to our homes as the world suffers through the worst health and economic crisis in a century. We are living through a human tragedy, especially for those who are sick or have lost loved ones, as well as for the millions who have lost their jobs and are suffering financially. Experts have pointed to a preponderance of evidence that the destruction of nature has a major role in disease outbreaks. Research has shown that the spread of malaria and dengue fever, for example, has skyrocketed in areas with high levels of forest destruction caused by agricultural expansion, mining, and logging. Wildlife populations have declined by 60% in the last 50 years. Over the same period, diseases that spread from animals to humans have quadrupled. Legendary conservationist Jane Goodall says, "The news is indeed grim, which is why so many people feel helpless and hopeless, and feeling thus, do nothing. It is true that if change does not come about, then we may as well give up, but I firmly believe that there is still time, though it is fast running out." Goodall outlines 5 reasons for hope. Number 1, the energy, commitment, and hard work of young people once they understand the problems and are empowered to discuss and act upon solutions. Number 2, the brilliance of the human brain and its ability to conceive new solutions. Number 3, the remarkable resiliency of nature. Number 4, the indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle seemingly impossible tasks and never give up. And Goodall's 5th reason for hope is the power of social media. For example, the recent climate march in 2019 was amplified by many using their voice and urging their friends and colleagues to join. This makes the voices of future Earth Days even louder than the resounding voices of 1970. According to the World Resources Institute, it's time for a new Earth Day commitment. History teaches us that crisis can either bring people together or push us apart. We've seen remarkable acts of selflessness and community in the present pandemic, giving us a great sense of hope. It's even possible that this tragic period could open up the door for important change. We may be able to make something good out of this crisis by resetting the social contract between citizens, governments, and corporations. In the spirit of continued scientific understanding that produced the very first Earth Day, let's move forward with a commitment to support the vulnerable, to protect natural systems, to reduce risks and address our common threats together. On Earth Day, let's recommit to achieve such a reset. This podcast was produced as part of MICDS's Upper School Science Distance Learning Platform in the spring term of 2020. All associated media and cited resources for this podcast can be found in the sections containing the audio and video descriptions. From my home in St. Louis, Missouri, I'm your host, Justin Paul Zahler, science teacher at MICDS. Thank you for being with me, and stay safe.